Still sort of drops out. Now I wonder if I go to our Alt 5, okay. So let's go to our parameter adjustments for our lens. I don't need to see all that at the moment. Find our attribute editor, there it is. Also, if you're finding, I don't know if you guys are on Windows 8 or not, but if you're ever finding issues with these screens flying around, I use two monitors normally, this is never an issue otherwise, but if you hold down the Windows key and press the arrow buttons, you can sort of move things that aren't on your screen back onto them if you find they disappeared. Just a little Windows tip for those that might not have known it. Lens, adjust focal length, bring back our parameter adjustment window, turn these off for now. What happens if we just go adaptive all on our focal length? I wonder if that gives us anything better. Okay, so it starts telling us we've got something more like 31. There we go. We've got some things that go way off in the background. What are these things? It's totally acceptable. Great. This is what we want. Because at least we can see we're actually getting somewhere, which is sort of the important part. All of these guys are sticking nicely, which is what we're going to work with. So for now, I'm not going to really mess with the distortion. I'm actually pretty happy with it. It hasn't given me too much problem the way I got it without doing this, which is normally what you would do. You go ahead and you make your survey data, you try and get those lines to line up, and then you do your parameter adjustments, distortion with that in mind, and you get a much more accurate result. But for this particular instance, we know that these have been surveyed. So where do we go next? Well, we've got these issues here. These dudes over here, what are they doing? Well, they're triangulated. So they don't even know where they are. They have no way to know where they are, really. So for now, I'm going to delete them because I'm not going to worry about them. You can always go back to them. They're very, very simple. This guy. Now, because this guy's surveyed, what I'm going to do is go modify, change it to approximately surveyed. And that will take into account where I want it to go. And it won't move it too far, but it will, if we can see there, gives us a much better spot that it thinks it's in. If we go look at that guy. Okay, where does he think he is? I guess it's down at the very bottom. That's nice of it. Well, no to that, I say. It's going to go do another project all points. I'll actually define a shortcut for that too. I'm going to set that to Alt-P. Cool. Okay, you can see only towards the edge it starts to fly back off again. So what do we know about edges being being the problem? Now we know that it's in the right spot and it's surveyed correctly. So if it's coming off, then just by process of elimination, we start to imagine, okay, wait a minute, what's the issue here? I'd say distortion. Now, we've already been through distortion, and I'm going to go through it again, because we're always going through it. So, what do we got? Let's turn these on in a particular order. Keep our focal length at the top. Go these guys. I'll have these guys at the bottom. Okay, turn off the U and V for outer grade 2 and 4s. And for now, let's do a brute force all. See what it gives us. And this is going to take a second. Alright, so this is still going. Now, let's get a bit deeper into this. I'm going to stop and transfer the parameters just for the sake of it. See how we're doing 20 samples each here? And it's taking so long? That's because for every one sample this has, say this is set to 0.0249, this is set to minus 0.0465, it is still going to go through 20 samples with just those two. Now imagine that multiplied where you've got somebody that's prepared to pull out a calculator, I'm sure, can work it out. But it is every variable getting tested against each other. That's what brute force is. Brute force, of course, is the most accurate. It also takes the longest. So how do we get that down? Well, why don't we just put it down to 5 samples? Because then how many possibilities can you have with 555? Still a lot, I'm sure. There we got to our 6.6 again pretty quickly. Oh, there we go. I went straight through. Now from there, what we can do is hone in, but keep the same samples. Let me just go through that again. And at this point, now when I'm kind of happy, alright, then we go adaptive, and it'll find something. But the reason we don't go adaptive first off, straight at the beginning, is because without it trying multiple parameters across a breadth of things, sorry for the guys that already know this, I'm just covering over it, I'm just kind of drilling it into everyone's head. It's trying so many different parameters on both ways that it then knows for sure that one way is colder, one way is hotter. I covered this last week, but whatever. 2 weeks ago, my bad. Alright, what does this give us? Alright, now we've just got a problem with this guy. Alright. He seems to be a troublemaker. Let's turn him to approximate, see what happens. Alright, what about this guy? See, this guy, I'm hesitant to move because it's actually keeping everything else in check. Something we can do is maybe just move it up a little bit. I could just do I'll push it up further. So things are starting to flatten out, but I'm still pretty confident that that guy should be there. Now, if I'm pretty confident of that, and I want him to stay there, that's when we go into, once again, point weights, where point weights become more important when you're actually surveying. At least then you can actually see what's happening with them, as opposed to the shot in the dark that is tracking without survey. So let's put it up to 10, so it's got the weight of 10 points. You're going to see that it sticks there, but what it does is then drive everything else up because it's multiplied. Then we can see, okay, where's our actual problem child? There you are. Now if I just reproject him, Alt P. So now you can see what we're doing is just going through the process of fixing things, then reprojecting, then fixing, then reprojecting, so on and so forth. Okay, let's go to F6. Alright, now some of these guys are starting to get a little bit closer to the ground, aka our focal length is starting to work itself out a bit better. These guys a bit further off. Alright. We're starting to see this kind of 3D representation of what we've got here. We've got that guy up the back. This is starting to get a lot nicer. Obviously, there's still issues. As we move one thing or change something else, we need to work it out. So let's approximately survey this guy, see where he ends up. Yeah, I can live with that, because it is a little bit in. This thing's wonky. So, just project that, keep going. Okay, now this guy. That is worse if we send to 2D. It says it's a bit off there. Alright, well, let's check the 2D track first of all. I did do it really quickly, so it could be the case that the 2D track is actually off. It's by no means the best track in the world, but it's by no means the worst. It is sticking pretty well. But 2.8. If we follow the 3D, does that look better? No, it definitely goes off, it slides. So we want that to try and stick a bit better. That guy's free. So what I'm going to do is put the point weight up on that to 5. Push him to place a little bit more. Yep. Let's go 15. Alright, now what's here? This guy again. Ah, there we go. This is what happens when we turn our important things off. We will keep that survey to there. It must stay there. In fact, those should both be 15. Because we're sure that those are right, which means the other ones are wrong. Okay. So now we're going to just have a bit of a check on these. I'm just going to go center 3D. We're going to see how our 3D model, our plane here, if it slides against. And it's staying particularly good. Like obviously as it goes off we're seeing some issues here. You know, which is a problem. But you know, if we just reproject these when that's sort of more correct, that might circumvent that, which it does. Look at this. That guy definitely flies off. So we're going to tell this guy to reproject it as well. This dude I'm going to change to approximately surveyed. Again. Okay, obviously let's put it way off. And these guys I will project again. Okay. This dude again. 0.48. Now the magic number, as I said in my first episode, or first lesson, sorry, was around about 0.4. And that's saying 0.4 with 2K plates. So that's more like 0.2 in this world when we're working with 1080p Full HD. As you'll notice, we don't have that cursor problem anymore. It took me quite a while to fix that one. Thank you, coffee. Reproject you. They keep going off. Alright. Now we are projecting these things with our current settings, which might be screwing things up, but you know, this is how these things go. I'm just going to keep it on adjust for the moment. Now, these things going off the sides, I do find worrying, which is when we'll go into this side of things. Let's go brute force all. Which tab would go between these? It's a very clicky program. It's only so much. Of course, it's sticking to what I already had because I only gave it 5 each. Yeah, nothing's changing. Adaptive. Now notice that it's kept the other guys there, I should say that. Once we've done a brute and we go to adaptive without clearing it, it still knows that those other ones are there, so it's not going to try to move too far away from that. This won't do much of a difference. It's still going off the edges. Alright, let's enter it to our 3D. So notice how we're getting this to actually start to stick kind of alright. It's giving us much less problem than it was before anyway. Like this guy here, who cares? He doesn't even know where he is. The key is that these guys are sticking, which is the important part. And it just doesn't know where it is. No matter, not for now anyway. It's just an iterative process. But I do wonder what's going on with these guys. Alright, so it goes up to 1. You can see the deviation here. Kind of spikes and it goes around a little bit. Let's go turn on the 3D point. It's always, yeah, it's really doesn't quite know what it wants to do. So I turn on 3D distortion so it's actually correct. And it's that frame 1 to 2 business. Don't even like worry about it, I should say. It's the same frame. So, you know, don't give it any of your time. I don't know why frame 1 and 2 is the same. I don't want to know. It just came this way and it's too late now to change it. Like, we'll work around it when we get into Maya. Actually, as we export, there's a way around that. So it's an issue we need to worry about. So, but what are we looking at? So if you've followed me thus far, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this, you can see that we've got this. This is kind of looking sweet. We've got a 0.35, which is, you know, it's fine for our purposes. And let's go back into Maya. So we're going to need a few things for our journey back to Maya. We're going to need undistorted plates. So open up Warp 4. There she is. Lens parameters. Okay, film back width, film back height, 3318.